'Cause love is a game you don't know how to win till you've lost too many times. And if it's what fills a hole in these desperate souls, Lord, why is it so hard to find? And I've enough left inside for one more good try, so I'm begging you, don't make me cry. 'Cause I'm only one heartbreak away from losing my mind.
All right, today I'm joined by Madison McCoy, based out of Nashville, has some past in Texas and Alabama. Thanks for joining us, Madison.
Thank you so much for having me.
Perfect. Well, these are some of my favorite types of interviews because genuinely, I don't know much about you, right? I found you, I think 3 months ago, and I have just been entranced since. You got an incredible voice, you got good foundation, so something tells me you might seem new to the scene, but this isn't new to you. How long have you been doing this?
Technically, I've been pursuing music as a whole since I was very little. But country music in general, I would say about 3 to 4 years. I moved up to Nashville to attend Belmont, did that for a semester, ended up not being for me, went home, tried to do it at home, and then eventually I still love Nashville. I love the industry, and it couldn't keep me away, so I moved back. After commuting for a year, I moved back in May.
Okay, perfect. And what got you started? Do you have family in it? Is it just a love for the music? Was it church choir? What got you into it?
So officially, I like to say my aunt had a piano. My Nana's sister had a piano, and I was very little, and she taught me how to play a little bit of Silent Night, and then I was hooked. And then my parents put me into piano when I was 7, and couldn't get enough of it. Always was singing as a kid. I was homeschooled, and our program that we did was very memory based, and so everything was put to music. Everything was sung: school, Bible verses, church, and it was never not an option for me. I feel like it was kind of a when I do this as opposed to an if, and fell in love with country music when I was about 15. My dad would only listen to like George Strait and Alan Jackson, and there was a little bit of Elvis and some Americana, of course, like Johnny Cash and Dolly, but I hated it for years. And then I was just telling someone yesterday that I think the song that did it for me was Alan Jackson's Here in the Real World. I was 12. I had just gotten over a 12-year-old heartbreak and was sitting in the car, and I was like, that's how it feels.
I understand life now. I get it.
I was like, I know why people like this. And from then, I was very proud in high school. So my dad couldn't know I liked it because I had grown up telling him, turn it off, turn it off. And so I would listen to George Strait and Alan Jackson specifically, because that's all I knew, in my room. And then he'd come in and be like, oh, I wasn't doing anything. And I've been writing songs for a while. I started off in like CCM with worship music, and then just fell in love with the storytelling. And now my dad thinks it's hilarious that we're full in on country, specifically like the classic sounds, everything I grew up telling him to turn off.
Well, of course. But to me, I feel like that's like the real country folk, because to be honest, I grew up in a town of less than 3,000, and I did not listen to country music really until I left. Like, it was always around. So it was one of those things, like, for a lot of creatives, you want to be different. And so I feel like in a lot of small towns, especially agrarian small towns, like, you want to be different than everyone else, so you almost grow up to like hate country music. But then there are those certain folks who love it. So I see one or the other. I don't meet many country artists that were kind of like in between. They either grew up hating it or they grew up being obsessed with it. And I think that's what makes you really country, is one or the other. You know? Speaking of George Strait and Alan Jackson, though, okay, this is always funny because this comes up. What do you see? You know, they call George Strait the king. But when it comes between those two, All right, they're probably not going to hear this, so you can be completely honest.
Yeah.
How do you see in comparison to those two? I feel Alan Jackson's kind of overlooked, and by kind of, I mean extremely
Yes.
overlooked.
Extremely.
How do you feel Alan Jackson contributes to the scene? And if George is the king, what is Alan Jackson?
I don't know if I have a title per se. I knew I always admired Alan Jackson as a songwriter as well as a singer and an artist. I think, like you said, he's extremely overlooked. I think especially in modern country music, a lot of his writing and his sounds, I think, really influenced what you hear on the radio today, almost more so sometimes than more of the traditional Texas country. I don't know. I feel like I always split Alan Jackson and George Strait when I'm telling my friends. I would say George Strait is yeehaw country, and then Alan Jackson's like the father of yee yee country.
Okay, Granger Smith, yeah.
If you look at like the Southeast versus more of the West. So I don't know. I don't know how to compare them because I grew up on both of them equally. Obviously, I still think George Strait is the king of country music, but I guess you could maybe say Alan Jackson is, I don't know, he's right up there. I just don't know what the title would be.
And that's what I love about our genre. Like, it's so broad and it's so subjective that we can talk forever on things that really don't matter but matter a lot, you know?
Yeah.
And you also bring up subgenres, which I'd love to get into later, you know? But subgenres are very vital. And a lot of artists that I talk to, at least, it's kind of, again, it's that split, but it's polarizing to think, but a lot of artists will see subgenres as controlling, and then others will see like it's necessary. Because again, like you just said, if we have to compare Alan Jackson to George Strait, why can't we appreciate both? And the only way to appreciate both is if we understand there also is Southern country, there's Appalachian country, there's Texas country, there's Red Dirt country, there's West, you know, there's so much based on what we do that it's really fun to just sit and try to discuss this stuff because we'll never find the right answer.
No,
we'll never find the right answer. But it's fun to see and discuss how people experience the music. Like you said, like we love sad music. Country folk love sad songs and waltzes. We love melancholy feeling. Absolutely. And I bet there's someone listening that is way more educated than me with history and can tell me that. I know we've been through a lot and we can probably relate to it down in our soul, but I don't know. We love that sad music.
Absolutely.
But speaking back to you, went to Nashville, left, came back. What did you see was kind of maybe the hardest obstacle that maybe originally got you back home? But then also, what really was your muse, your inspiration to say no and really, you know, buckle up and say, no, I'm going back. I want some more, you know?
There were a lot of factors. I think for me, I was pursuing a degree in songwriting and surrounded by, really for the first time, I had done some camps in high school and things in a music community outside of a very small town that had put me around a lot of musicians, but it was the first time, you know, you're living and working with a lot of very young songwriters, young musicians, and in a college environment as well. And you're pursuing a degree, a very expensive degree, in a field where you might not make the return on it. And I think all of those things kind of came to a head and took a step back. So I was at home, still kind of pursuing it, not as much as I would have liked to, but then started working for my church as an intern on their worship team, and I loved kind of getting back into music as part of a job and started playing around town and just really did miss the community of being around musicians and being around people who are making this their life and have that relatability. And also, you know, I'm in my early 20s, and in a small town, if you graduate high school and don't go to college and don't go in the workforce and don't get married, you're kind of scrapped. You're kind of scrapped for community. And so as I started commuting back up here, I was meeting more people my age and musicians my age, and even since being back, the community aspect has been what's really kept me this time.
Yeah. And I think
So
that's huge what you said. Of course, like, that's not to discredit education when it comes
no,
to knowing the background. And also, there is, I'm not going to say formulas, but it can help, in songwriting to know
yeah,
this is how I like to do art. But then it's kind of that beautiful thing about any art where you learn the structure so you can break it.
yeah,
I think that's a
exactly.
great mentality, especially in country, because I look at someone like John Prine, who I would claim is like one of the greatest songwriters,
Hmm.
and he was a mailman. And so
Yeah,
it's a fact that he had lived an experience. Same as like Townes Van Zandt did not go to college to learn how to write songs.
right.
I don't even know if he went to college at all. I don't think he did. I'm not gonna. Someone
Yeah,
who is a Townes Van Zandt fan is probably screaming at their car or their phone right now because they're like, he didn't go, but I don't know
right.
these things. But I'm gonna assume he didn't. And it's that lived in experience, and
Hmm.
that comes from community, like you're saying, being around the right people, living life. And that's what
Yeah,
I love about country music as a whole.
absolutely.
When you started songwriting at such a young age, did that come from just worship music, or was it a certain song or songwriter that you like really looked up to? What got you kicking with songwriting?
I really don't know if I'm gonna be completely honest. I think it did start with worship music. I did have a lot of. I grew up on, for my CCM fans out there, I grew up on a lot of Toby Mac and Britt Nicole and Jamie Grace, like those staple CCM artists. And I just wanted to do what they did.
Mm-hmm.
I had been playing piano for a while, and it had always just been something I did was make up my own stuff on the piano. Again, my mom used music as a way to teach us anything we had to memorize. So it kind of just started going when I was probably about 12. Sit in my room and be like, all right, what can I make up? And then, you're doing something and you're like, oh, well, I could see this maybe going somewhere. Obviously, looking back, no, it couldn't. But yeah, and then it just snowballed from there. I fell in love with it, and then eventually fell in love with, again, storytelling and country music as well, and figuring out how that fit with gospel music and Christian music. And I feel like my faith is still a major background in
Mm.
the way that I write. Um, but yeah, I couldn't tell you about like a specific thing that said, all right, this is what we're doing. I think it's just the whole thing is just a big snowball that just started and never stopped.
Yeah, you got to follow that thread.
Yeah.
Speaking on like worship and Christian music, I got to talk to Nelson McKinney, who leads worship up in North Texas,
Okay.
and I kind of have a weird thought, and I
Okay.
always try to talk to Christians who are in the scene, specifically worship leaders in the scene,
Hmm.
because I have seen a major parallel between the honky tonk and the church.
Okay.
And won't go too deep into all that, but specifically on music, we get to talk about contemporary.
Yes.
And the fact that I see almost again like a step for step in line, both of them are following it. And this isn't
Hmm.
nothing anything new. I mean, we've constantly seen. I mean, our country music is based in gospel, right? Gospel,
Yes.
blues, and folk. So it's like it's
Right.
not weird that we constantly have connections, but I just don't see many crossovers that to
Hmm.
me do it correctly. So I'm
Yes.
curious with the way you see and you grew up with, contemporary country or contemporary Christian music, and we also now hear contemporary country music,
Hmm.
right? How do you think that affects, especially songwriters, but the whole scene when you don't really know how, I don't want to say genuine, but sincere. Like,
Yeah.
do you find that boundary in certain worship music where you're like, is this still about worship? Or are we into the industry where we're trying to finish an album so then we can sell
Hmm.
more? Same thing with country. Like, did you put the time and effort and experience to live this? Or did you simply just throw a track on so that the album could be complete? Do you
Yeah.
see the same parallel? Do you have any thoughts on like Brandon Lake now
Yeah.
working with Cody Johnson and
Yeah.
getting to now claim like he's country? And it's the point of like,
Hmm.
again, we're not being exclusive. The same thing with the
Yeah.
faith. We're not trying to exclude people in the slightest. It's the point
Right.
of if everyone is Christian, everyone's country, who's actually country, who's actually Christian,
Right.
because we can like to say, oh, inclusivity, inclusivity, but in the end, genuine people then get drowned out, you
Hmm.
know?
Yeah.
Actual worship gets drowned out. You know, do you know Stephanie Gretzinger?
Um, Vaguely.
Vaguely. Okay. Yeah. Maybe I'll send it after this. But she
Okay.
went on a very, very well said, I don't want to say rant, but very good talk on the whole Forrest Frank and like award
Hmm.
show thing, and specifically with
Yeah.
worship. But what are your thoughts on all? I don't really have a specific like directed question where I'm like,
Okay.
do you stand by this person? No, it's just a point of like, what have you been seeing now that you're
Yeah.
again back in the community, heavily going towards country music, but again, not dismissing
Yeah.
your
No.
worship or your faith. So it's where do you see these boundaries and maybe people that you're like, I do notice this going on, or I think this is okay. What do you
Hmm.
think on
I have a lot of thoughts in
it?
that
Ooh.
direction. It was something that I wrestled with for me personally a lot going into my pursuing my own career. Um, I have a heart for the church. I have a heart for worship music. I led worship in my church for 6 years. And I have a heart for CCM. And obviously, I adore country music. And I kind of had to make that call at one point of do I pursue Christian music in the industry or do
Mm,
I pursue country music? And for me, it came down to I know I don't think I could remain genuine if I was writing worship music for my paycheck. That's where I stood on it for me. Um, and I know other people don't wrestle. So, well, I'm sure they all wrestle with it. I know other people can hold faster to that than I believe that I could.
mm-hmm,
I figured if I was going to pursue music for a paycheck, it would be not easier, but I could stay more genuine if and when I do write worship or if I do write a faith based country song. I think more recently in the CCM industry, I feel I don't know if I'm more aware of it. There are things that do sometimes stick out as disingenuous. I don't know about things in particular, but I've had the opportunity to work some major events, and there are some people, you meet people, and I feel like it's always a matter of the heart. And
mm,
it's what my mom always said. There's some people I've had the privilege to meet, and I'm like, wow, you are living out your faith. You are genuine. You are, list the fruits of the spirit, kind, joyful. Your presence makes me feel like, yeah, you know what you're doing. You're doing it right. There have been, and very few, I'm grateful to say, but there have been a few where I'm like, there might be an alternative motive to this industry. Sometimes, again, I'm speaking just of feelings that I've gotten. I
mm-hmm,
can't say fact. Obviously, the Lord knows everyone's heart. Um, there have been certain artists that sometimes it seems like they went with Christian music because it's a little bit of an easier genre to break into.
ooh.
Um, oh,
We have a special guest. If you're not watching right
yes.
now, we just had our collie come in to talk, our border collie right here.
Yeah.
Fantastic.
So I feel like there's a little bit of that suspicion sometimes,
Mm,
especially with artists that lean very heavily into a genre within CCM. Um, but I don't know. It's hard for me. It's hard for me to speak on. I'm hesitant to make like a statement one way or the other. However, I will say, and I've always told people this when they asked why I didn't go into Christian music. Some of my favorite faith-based songs ever are George Strait's "What Goes Up" and Cody Johnson's "By Your Grace." Neither of which are Christian artists, but the lyrics and emotions in those songs hit me harder than a lot of what I've heard recently coming
mm,
out of Christian radio.
mm.
And they're both, I mean, What Goes Up is a little older, but that's kind of how I stand on it is it's the heart on the song. I think also certain things like Brandon Lake's crossover with Jelly Roll and now with Cody Johnson, it can bring a new audience on both ends. So I think that's a positive. But I will also say, if you're going to come into country music and vice versa, do your homework. Learn about learn about the culture behind both of them. And, you know, if I meet people all the time. I mean, I don't have a background in cowboying at all, but I love to learn about that lifestyle and meet people who have done the job and have made that their life. And I think that's the standard I hold myself to, is if, you know, you're going to enter a community, learn how it works.
That's scripture. Be assimilated into where you're going, you know?
Right. You know,
be both a pilgrim and a good citizen, you know?
Exactly. Yeah.
I completely get that. And because that's kind of, I think, what why I take such offense to it. And always my goal is, like, not to put down people who are doing it incorrectly, but more so to promote people who are doing it right. Like you're saying, like, I think Emily Ann Roberts currently is one of the strongest to do both. But like you're saying with Cody Johnson, like, she is country. But then she will, every show, some of her best work I've seen is her just randomly dropping into a hymn.
No, I want to be that person.
Exactly.
I adore her. I want to be her best friend. And the building, I think she does it right. Great example.
No, definitely. But then the thing too is the deeper concept again, which I start there, but the deeper concept for me and the real offense, if you want to say offense, that I take to it, is it kind of reminds me of like the early 2000s. I mean, it started kind of in the 80s, and the idea that we are just going to be of the world. We're going to, like, if we want to bring more people in, we are going to meet them where they're at. And I think that's fantastic. It's a great mentality. But when you are then changing what you're offering to make it more, like, palpable in a sense, and then you lose the main purpose. Not only that, but also, again, like, I remember the first time, even at like 10 years old, I remember seeing those shirts that all these Christian companies made, and it was just taking a popular brand and then like putting something Jesus-y on it. And I was like, you're a creative, you get paid to make art, and what you came up with was plagiarism. That represents God. That like the Almighty, you know, the God who created oceans to where we haven't discovered all that, space that we fully don't understand, and bodies that we think we understand, but yet we continually make new discoveries. And things are outside of our control, but yet we still feel like we're in this new age where we know everything. That's what you feel represents him. And that's what I kind of see, like we were talking about with certain CCM, is the point of it's like, you could easily just go into gospel. You want to be a country guy? Go into gospel. Also, you're going into a genre run by a specific community that is very underserved, overlooked, and misjudged by a lot of our nation. If you want to be Christ-like, sing gospel. It's again, that's what subgenres, like we'll go into. It's like subgenres are there for you to be able to have guidelines to say, hey, like, you want to jump into a banjo type song, you want to jump into a murder ballad. Guess what? People have already done this. Don't reinvent the wheel. Also, don't dilute it down to where it's easier for you and for your consumers to buy. Because then in the end, not only are you doing a disservice to yourself and your artistry, you're doing a disservice to all the people that love that genre.
So and I feel like there are definitely some songs out there for sure where you're like, you can hear the conference room in the song. I can't name one off the bat, but there's some that, you know, I'll sit there and I'll listen to it and I'm like, I feel like I can hear the label meeting in the background of this song. And that goes in country music, that goes in Christian music, because I feel like when an artist is genuinely being creative and doing what they love and them as an artist, you can tell that, as opposed to the, hey, we need a song like this. And I feel like, they still might be good songs, they still might blow up, and they might reach a lot of people, but I feel like you can't feel, I want to hear the artist when I'm listening to their music. I don't want to hear a label exec room.
Yeah, definitely. Definitely.
But,
And so when it comes to, your songwriting and everything you're doing, you're clearly going to be a country artist. You have experiences that point you in a certain direction. You're not going to get boxed into a subgenre because that's what the industry does. So I want to talk about subgenres as an artist, just like painting. Just because you're good at abstract does not mean you can't do realism. It's just the point of most of your experiences lean towards one way or the other, right? And if you want to do one or the other, again, like we just said, it's set up for you.
Yeah, exactly.
But the industry wants to sell abstract. The industry wants to sell realism, and it wants to separate those. And so you have to do this or have to do this. For you, when it comes to your songwriting, when it comes to performing, when it comes to being who you see yourself as, who you want to become, right? Like you said, you looked at Leanne Roberts. That doesn't mean you have to become her. It might mean you you might go to Western, but fall in love with what she does and take inspiration, right?
Yes.
Where do you see your songwriting normally falls if we talk subgenres? Where do you see, again, when it comes to performing, I like to be playing to these types of crowds, whether that's I like to sit down at either a songwriter circle, or I love to sit down to people who are wanting to just sit and listen. Do you like playing to people who might want to dance? Maybe just a hometown crowd that just kind of likes to do both. And then also your vision, like long term, if you could have a subgenre or a sound placed by your name, what would make you really happy to see?
I think starting from the top with all the subgenres, when I write, I feel like what normally comes out is some weird mix of 90s country, Americana, and bluegrass.
We call that Southern.
So yeah. I think a little, I feel like everyone says a little bit of everything, but I'll write one song and it's a waltz and leans very more classic country, and then something a little more upbeat might lean more in the Americana bluegrass range. And I love those sounds. I love anything that can be done with a lot of acoustic instruments. I love fiddle, mandolin, an upright bass.
Come on.
Obviously pedal steel. We do not have enough of that coming out of the
okay, on that point
now.
though, I know it's hot right now, and I will say my business partner William Holwell from Keep Traditional Country Alive, we partnered up with Honky to make Honky Harmony. We've actually just done Triple T management to do a lot of talent management. I say all that to give him great credit, because now he has a whole series. He's going after steel guitar players, and he's not writing on the lead singer. He's not writing on the band as a whole. He's literally doing a whole series for this next year on steel guitar players.
Wow.
Just steel. Okay.
Yeah.
And everyone, to me, has started jumping on that train. Not a bad thing.
That is true.
Not a bad thing. Do you know what I think is missing? Which also includes you. It involves you. Piano.
Yeah.
Piano is the original honky tonk instrument.
Yeah.
The original. Now, if we go back to, again, bluegrass, folk, everything else, talking to our Western influences, Western African influences, Irish, Hawaiian, everything. Yes, fiddle is the most known country thing. Banjos, blah blah blah. We can talk about that all day. But piano was all they used to have in saloons.
Yeah.
Piano is the OG. There's even legends that, or folklore, if you will, that the name honky tonk. One of the stories is with Hank Williams Sr. When they would play in the bars and the piano was so out of tune, it sounded like a honk, like a goose honking. And so they called it a honky tonk. I don't follow that, but
it's funny.
Do you feel like piano is I don't hear much piano.
No, I do feel like it's missing in country music as a whole. I'm still figuring out how to fit piano into my own music. I grew up classically trained, so Mozart, Beethoven, Chopin, fancy stuff.
Do you have a favorite era?
It's really funny. My favorite era of classical music is Baroque music, and that was before the piano was even invented. So
it happens. It happens.
But I do love the Romantic era. I love. Everyone loved well, I don't know. I feel like Chopin's a popular one, but I was obsessed. I learned a lot of his nocturnes and waltzes, obviously.
Come on, yeah. I'm a Bach fan myself.
Okay,
Specifically Johannes. I love
yes,
Bach. Anything Bach
yes.
for me.
Oh, that was my way to get classical music into church, was always pull out the Bach piece, because Soli Deo Gloria, he was a church musician. So I love Baroque music, I love romantic music, but in that, translating that into country, which uses a lot more blues and jazz, I'm still learning how to do it.
I would even
myself.
say rock and roll. Rock and roll is
Yeah.
the biggest. Like, that's what I'm not a professional. I haven't studied too deep, but jazz, I don't see too much. Blues 100%, but I see when the 60s hit and rock and roll took
True.
off. Rock and roll, I feel like it showed such a clear influence on like Waylon and the Outlaw era and those guys. They really took and ran with it. But then before that, it was really the gospel. That's what I saw a lot of. That's but we're missing it. I want to hear that. Boom, 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 boom. Like the like kick. It's kind of like a steel to me because it's so rare. But like if I hear a song start off with a steel, or maybe like a fiddle, or a piano, if they have a like either with the slower like worship or you know gospel
ballad
something, then like that piano start. Oh, but also if it's a kick up like a Western swing type piano, come on.
Yeah, and that's on my list of things to really dive into as a pianist, is learning how to do that. I still can be very lost in switching that over. So that's why my like go-to songwriting instrument is guitar, because
isn't that the beauty of being an artist though?
I know, I can do whatever I want.
And the rest of your life you'll be studying it, you'll be training, you'll be trying to figure out ways. And to be honest too, you could be the one that brings all this back. You know what I'm saying?
My piano teacher would be very happy for that to happen. Yeah.
And so that's our subgenres you're finding with songwriting. What about playing? Because that's what I'm curious too. If you like, again, out in all the gigs you've been having, is it much more of like a sit down kind of just play for some folks type?
I play a lot of writers rounds in town, where you share the stage with some other writers and you take your songs, and I do love that. I like seeing, when I play those rounds, I like seeing if I can get the room to be quiet, because you're playing in it's Nashville. You're playing in places where some are there to listen to music and some are just there to have a good time. And so if you can get people to kind of look up from their conversation and clock into what you're doing at that moment, I'm riding a high.
I love one of my favorite lines of Braxton Keith's new one, Lonely as a Lone Star. He talks about playing to a room full of people that talk too loud. So silence the room. It feels like theater. Yeah. Like, you did something right when the room is silent.
Yes, I would much rather get people to shut up than cheer loudly at the end of
Yeah, come on.
Yeah, like I played like a listening room style thing recently, and the hardest part about that was everyone was supposed to be quiet already. So getting that, I was sitting there, I was like, great, I have no gauge, everyone's quiet as it is. But yeah, so I love that. I love getting to test out songs, see what hits people and what doesn't. And I've started doing this very new. I haven't gotten into doing a lot of stuff with a full band yet. I do play a lot of acoustic shows, but I love opening for artists as an acoustic performer. Again, just learning new audience. I love playing, seeing what I can do with just me and a guitar. And if that's, I love getting people to dance. If I can get you to clap your hands.
I was about to ask that. You read my mind. Like, have you got to play, not a honky tonk necessarily, but because you're young, Tony, so it's like you might not have as many opportunities, but also like full band matters. Yeah. And so you haven't got to play that, but you knew what a waltz was. That's huge. Yeah. Have you got to see people dance? Did you go dance? Like, how has dancing evolved around you with music?
I would say it all goes back, and I should have mentioned this earlier. My parents met, and the first movie that they watched together was George Strait's Pure Country. So obviously, I grew up on that movie.
Yeah.
And I would say, I tell this to my friends, I tell this to people that I date. If you want to know anything about me, the music I like, any other part of my personality, go what I think is funny, go watch that movie.
Oh yeah. So you're like really into dudes with like not like rat tails, but like extra
No,
long rat tails.
no, not that specifically.
Guys
But
who
just
are like they want their woman and they're like kind of cheating and they know it, but then they're like, you know what? It's about the music. And then they go home to find themselves like almost like a Hallmark movie. Is that what that's what you're looking for?
no,
Got it.
no, not in terms of no. But just the the music. I mean, I quote it all the time. I don't want to feel like a dancing chicken. I want to be able to hear the lyrics and the music, and I want all that to say, the dancing in that movie, it's very minimal. Just a two-step here, a line dance here, and I was like, this is awesome.
Mm-hmm.
um, um, and my parents have always been, they two-step at weddings. I mean, my mom and dad will be sometimes the only person out on the dance floor, and everybody's like, they're the cute couple everybody's watching dance. Again, my dad grew up from Texas, so we'll go to my family weddings and everyone's dancing with each other, and it's, for me, that's so much more fun than, jumping up and down in a circle for 3 hours.
Yeah, or being at a stadium concert and not having
Right.
nowhere to dance and even getting in trouble for dancing. Country
Right.
singers, come on.
Oh no, my friends kind of laugh at me because we'll go places where you can dance, and I just sit there. I'm like, let's go. I'm not great at it, but all I want to do is
None of
dance.
us are.
So,
None of us are really good at it. That's the whole point. It's just supposed to
yeah.
be like fun,
yeah.
you know?
So when I'm the one performing, it hasn't happened yet, but all I want is for me to be singing, whether it's a waltz, whether it's something upbeat and fun. I just want to see someone dance with someone.
All right, we have it on record.
I want to create the environment where people feel comfortable to dance, whether that is just like standing up and clapping your hands and stomping
Clapping your feet. If you want to do some hill clicks, guys.
That's the second time
Maybe
I
some
have
river
made,
dancing. Clap your
that's the
feet.
second
All you'd
time
like.
I have said that the wrong.
Honestly, that'd be
backwards.
funny to.
The last show I played, I did do that on accident. So
Classic. Just
now
make
I'm
it a normal
worried
thing
I'm
now.
gonna do it every time. Yeah.
Keep it going.
But yeah, I love that aspect of music. I love it. I can't really say much.
That's what I think
love
country,
it.
that's what's so great about our genre and how blessed we are to be in this is that those who came before us given us an opportunity to dance and have live music.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, now that swing bars are dead, like this is all we got as Americans, as really, I'm not going to say the world, but at least for Americans, this is the only place, like honky tonks are the only place that you can expect live music, drinks, and dancing every single weekend. And for some places, you can expect it every single day, which I don't necessarily agree with, but it's huge, especially for you artists. Like the fact that when I show up to this place, my goal is to get people dancing. Yeah. And that's where I think it's so vital, and where contemporary fails is they're not used to a honky tonk. They're used to a studio. They're used to people writing these songs, and so they don't consider these dancers. And then also the dancers are very contemporary, so they're not showing you, when you play a waltz, what your music looks like, right? Yeah. They're not showing you the effort you put into it. And so, I look forward to down the line to try to come back to that question and see how you feel about honky tonk, so we can get you a full band and get you really kicking and rolling. I would love to see how that makes you feel, to get people really moving.
Yeah, I mean, I have the song I played at the beginning. My dream for that song is to play it with a full band, and just, it's a waltz, so do it.
So, that's how you should type the song. This is a waltz, so do it. Yeah, that'd be a perfect intro.
I know, one of these days, a bit I want in a show is, if you came with a girl, dance with her, because that's something that just isn't done. Again, I'm 21. I feel like I'm a little bit of an old soul in the way that I feel like people should come together, and I think dancing is such an obvious way for people to connect and meet each other and get to know each other. And it's honestly easy. It's a given. This is how you go meet someone. And if what I write not every song, but if one couple of two throughout a show can be that thing for somebody, that'd be cool.
Yeah, and not everyone can write every song as a honky tonk song that gets everyone moving.
Yeah.
I mean, the only reason George Strait is known as well as he is because he had so many good songwriters around him, and he was smart in that.
Yeah.
And so I could talk about honky tonk all day, but I want to circle back to again that last point of everyone wants to be a pure country artist. It's funny that you mentioned that because literally in the back of my head I was about to literally talk. So I say pure country. That's how I mention artists that can kind of cross subgenres, right? Mm-hmm. If everyone was a pure country artist, our genre would be pretty bad because there's not a lot of people that can fully cross from bluegrass to gospel to folk to Texas to honky tonk. Like, it's very difficult to do all those. It's not just about having a great voice. It's not just about being a great instrumentalist. You have to be those two. And then what makes you great, what makes you the legend, is you're an entertainer. You know how to entertain. And so when it comes to that understanding and, again, your passions, your experiences, your awareness, what do you see? You can dream big or you can be realistic, however you want to answer this. But, again, what would you be proud to have put beside your name as Madison McCoy, the blank, the subgenre darling, or the subgenre heiress? Like, where would you want to be that, again, not all of your music, but where would you see that, like, this is my community. I would love to be around these people. It doesn't have to be one word. You can just, can use descriptors or areas or the type of people.
I think the classic country community, the people who appreciate 90s backwards. It's a wide range for sure, but if I sit down with someone and a co-writer and we're talking about, have a friend of mine and we were talking yesterday, if you can talk about Patsy Cline and you can talk about Johnny Cash and Waylon Jennings even, and know what you're talking about, and even if what comes out of the right isn't necessarily that, but has that inspiration, I know we're gonna click. As writers anyways. And I think if people can think of me and think, this girl sounds like what I grew up on, or this girl, I always say that if I have an old guy in a cowboy hat come up to me after a show and tell me I did good, I did good.
I tell people, I could care less if a professional world-class ballroom dancer comes up to me and says, you're one of the best dancers I've ever seen. I don't care. You know what I like? Is when those, like, 50, it's a different compliment, but like 50 to nearly death, they come up to me and they pinch either set of cheeks and they say, you dance just like my daddy. That's done. Done. I can literally, I can't count on two hands how many times it's happened, but I can tell you where each one has happened. Getting to look them in the eyes and be like, I'm doing something. I'm doing something. I don't need to win buckles. I don't need to win awards. I'm doing something. I'm going to keep doing it, you know?
Yeah. It's kind of two ways. If it's, there's that, and normally it's like outside of Nashville because everyone's old in a cowboy hat here. Not to discredit, but we do need this town. But if I'm like playing a show back home and the guy who was out, taking his horse to the vet yesterday is telling me I did a good job, then I'm set for probably 2 weeks. Even, again, more so than, and again, not to discredit any compliment. I'm taking as many as I can get right now.
I'll take them all. Stop complimenting me. Stop complimenting me, guys.
Tell me I don't need to go back home and I'm good. But yeah, it's either the grandpa in a cowboy hat or the 9 to 13-year-old little girls.
Looking up to you, wanting to be like, that's huge.
Yeah,
that's huge, and it's good that you recognize that. You want to be in the crowd that appreciates the people, not just the music, but that gratitude. You want people, sincere folks, wherever they are.
Yeah, exactly. Yes. No, we all want this to become a career. I want to be making my living full time doing this, hopefully soon. I have no idea, but in the end, it's the community. You know, I want the people I work with, the people I play with, to be my family and be people I connect with, and the people that come to my shows, I want to be able to have those personal connections over almost anything. I played solo classical piano for 12 years. It is, as much as I love it, it is a lonely instrument. And so songwriting can also be kind of lonely. So when I started co-writing and playing with other musicians, I was also homeschooled. So people were great.
It's always good to get out of the house.
Yeah. That's my favorite part about everything, is even dance, because it's such a community. You make friends doing all of it. And if I can go my whole career, obviously, would I love to play the Opry? I'd love to play the Ryman and do festivals and have the whole shebang. But if where I go every step along the way, I can be making connections and making friends and people I want in my life, I'll have one for sure.
That's what I'm talking about. Kind of switching the focus. I'm curious also, with every artist I talk to, about consuming art. Now that you're kind of seeing all this stuff, do you find that consuming art can be difficult? Like, if you go to a concert, can you be in the moment, or do you catch yourself watching certain members and you're like, ooh, I like this transition, or watch how they're playing that, or wow, this mix is terrible, or what I'm saying is that, do you find that you can still like sit and enjoy somewhat, or do you find yourself constantly feeding back into your artistry?
I think for a long time it was really hard. There was a point, I'd say about a year ago, where I would go to shows and go to concerts and have this like sense of comparison where it was either I'll never be able to do that, or why do they get to do that and I don't?
That's difficult.
And it was exhausting, to the point where, yeah, I mean, obviously I love going to concerts. But it was sometimes hard just watching things that you want so badly, and we're still not there, and seeing the people who haven't, just know, how do I get there? And so it wasn't necessarily much of a hyper focus on the songwriting, or sometimes it is a little bit of the stage presence. I watched a couple workshops with a performance coach back in high school, and he did truly ruin shows for me for a while, because you'd be like, oh, well, they could be engaging the audience in this way and they're not, or man, that guitar player looks really bored over there. So yes, but recently I feel like when I do, and I rarely go out to shows just because tickets are crazy now, but when I do, I try to make sure going in, it's an artist that I already love, that I look up to, and I'm trying to get better at just going and enjoying and having a good time, and putting all the kind of enjoying as a fan and not so much as an artist.
Yeah, and then you just get to kind of make them your muse instead of like make them your project to try to write notes on.
Exactly.
I get that.
I would say listening to music is harder for me, as opposed to attending shows, because with concerts, you have the whole environment, and you're with a bunch of other fans, and you're with friends, and it's really just a good time. But if I'm sitting in my car and I'm listening to my new releases playlist, or my my Legends playlist, or anything, and I'm sitting there and analyzing the songwriting, and I'm analyzing the sound, and I'll just get so in my head, and it again turns into a thing of like, why is this allowed on the radio, to I'll never be able to do this. So it's sometimes I'll have to like take a switch and go listen to something crazy for a couple days that
Yeah.
just isn't country at all.
Yeah.
Just to kind of get my head back in the space.
What's sticking out to you right now that you're listening to, either like old or new that maybe not many people know? Like, what have you been listening to that you're just like, I'm really stuck on this song right now. Like, I'm loving this song. This is the hard part about having Spotify. I'll tell you, I have a lot of musical knowledge, and as soon as I get asked, I'm like, can I open up my Spotify real quick?
I know. I do know I recently have been listening to a lot of Carter Faith's recent album.
Cherry Valley, let's go.
Mm-hmm. I don't know what she put in that album, but it's
Billy Bob Thornton. That's why he's like that inspiration. She's a killer. She is. Yeah. She draws the perfect line of clearly being like a heathen. She's just crazy, but then also there's like a tenderness to it. There's a sweetness to it that you almost aspire to be like. Even as a guy, you're like, why am I attracted to this? When she's literally talking about the fact that she likes terrible people, like these men that she's like, not good people. But then you're also like, do I want to be that guy? But then also, no, that's a terrible person. But then you're like, wow, she does it in such a sweet way. She's like a siren.
Yeah. I mean, her voice is just fantastic. I mean, I was on a road trip recently, and I think I listened to the album 3 times just on rotation.
It flows well from start to finish.
Yes.
Which is the only way to listen to an album, by the way.
Yes. So that very recently has been really sticking out. And I without looking back into my Spotify, I feel like and everyone has been dogging on the latest Zach Top release. I will say, though, there are a few songs on there that I think it was as great as Cold Beer and Country Music? Maybe not. But the sounds I loved. There's a couple songs on that record. Between the Ditches. I mean, I can't tell you how many times I'm going through my day and just start singing it. I think there's a lot to that album that got overlooked on some technicalities. But I think so those, like her album and a couple of the tracks out of his have just been really topping the listening right now. Yeah. I'm trying to think of any other. I mean, I've gone back a lot recently and into Tammy Wynette, Patsy Cline, a little bit of Waylon and Johnny Cash. Johnny Cash is, I think, surprisingly for me, because I didn't listen to him a ton growing up until I started songwriting. I had some friends that were really hardcore outlaw country guys, and one of my first TikToks that I ever did with other musicians was a cover of Folsom Prison, and now I play it at every show. Don't ask me why. It's just so fun. And but just going back into that as I've starting to pull together songs I want to release and kind of seeing what about what older country that has somehow stayed so timeless that I want to incorporate into my own sounds. I think even like someone asked a reference for something recently, and I was like, the Grand Tour. Because it's just that's country music, it's as country as it gets, and yeah, you're pointing to the reference and you're like, step on up. Right. So yeah, it's just I feel like I've been digging a lot back into the classics, but also those two specifically I've been reaching for. Just I listen to a lot of the same stuff on rotation. I'm not great at keeping up with who's all coming. I can't keep track of it all. You're telling me, like, I always, I mean, again, I've been doing Honky Tonk Traditions for nearly 5 years now. Can't tell you how many old heads who people think I am. They think I'm a purist, but all these purists that will come up to me, not just with dance but with music, and they're just like, old country's dead, and I'm like, brother, I can't keep up. This is a job for me. Like, I love listening to the same playlist over and over, and each week we drop a weekly marquee, I call it. This week killed. All right? This week killed, which by the time you're listening to this, last week.
with Luke Bell, Jake Owen. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, Troubadour Blue, some guys that have like
Yes,
less than
yes,
2,000 people that are
yes.
listening. Like, we have big mainstream and small independent that are
Mm-hmm.
equally killing.
Yeah.
And then we have
I
people like the fact that people can discourse and like argue about Zach Top's album is a joke. Because also people don't recognize Cold Beer and Country Music.
mm-hmm.
Uh, they're the same album,
Yeah,
but he didn't pull a Morgan Wallen.
yeah.
Oh, sorry, I said his name.
Yes.
My bad. It's like Voldemort. My bad. He didn't pull a Nashville move and drop 36 songs. He split them up because it was not a concept, but the feeling, and
Yeah,
they were different. I'm not gonna. I don't want to speak for him, but I'm pretty sure there's the third part of it because
yeah.
he has like 300 songs just chilling that
Mm-hmm.
he's written. Probably that was probably a hyperbole, but
Yeah.
by this time, because I only got to talk to him like 2 years ago.
Okay.
Like, he has so much in his arsenal just waiting, and
Yeah.
he's taking his time. I can only imagine how much he's chomping at the bits to be like, let's just get this out,
Yeah.
please. It's like,
Yeah.
just get it out. But like you're saying, I love that you recognize the need to return to classics. It's not to again um, imitate them, right? We're not
Yeah.
looking for people
No.
to copy.
Mm-hmm.
But again, calling back Nelson McKinney that we interviewed, he said that he quoted George Strait and said, George Strait loves country music because it always returns to its origins. We will
Right.
always have fluctuations, and we did just come out of one, with Garth Brooks up till
Right.
still to the day, where stadium country is it's not helping that much. I'm not gonna say
Yeah.
it's killing us because that's that's a definite exaggeration,
Yeah.
but this is something we've never faced before. We've
Yeah.
always faced evolving, coming back, evolving, tradition, like that's just normal. That's culture, that's
Mm-hmm.
art, whatever. But we've come out of something weird here.
Yeah.
And what a blessing it is to be in a country renaissance right now. And I think you're in a great
Yeah.
position to be where you're at. And I forgot to ask this too, but like kind of off topic, but still on the same like consumer side. Do you have any like artists outside of country that you're just like, not it can be guilty, but also
Yeah.
just the point of like, I love what this person's doing.
Oh, I feel like I am always listening somehow just in country somewhere. There's, like you said, with the subgenres, there's always some other sound you can get out of it. And that's like 90% of, I'd say 99.9% of my listening.
You're not a chaperone connoisseur. You're
Not
not
real.
a Lizzie McAlpine.
I mean,
Not
I will say sometimes, especially over the last year, I was quite the Tate McRae fan. I mean, I would get in my car. Me and my
technically she's country right now. Just saying.
I,
She didn't promote it, but the great legend of our time did bring her on. So technically, you listen to country
true.
music.
That is
All of her
true.
music is officially country. Just saying.
But like I'll be with my sisters and just be girls, turn it on and have ourselves a time, listen to her. I think and I say this about country music too. A lot of it's time and place of like what I'll listen to. I mean, what I'll listen to on a boat is very different to what I'm listening to, or like at the beach is very different than what I'm listening to in my car or in my room or what I'm going to play on the show.
But how diverse are we? Like, our genre is so diverse.
Right. So
what are we
like,
going to listen to at a funeral? What are we going to listen to in church?
I don't have time. Like, I mean, I do. I still listen to a lot of, I listen to a lot of worship music. I'll still go back and listen to some Toby Mac. I mean, he was and for King and Country. I think for King and Country especially as a CCM artist that I respect so much. And
how did you feel about their spin-off album? Like, what was it? 2019? Was it King and Country? Didn't they do one in like 2019 that had like explicit, or 2018?
No, no, they're
King
very.
And Country?
I
Who
don't
am I
know.
thinking about? Keep going on them though, because I
Okay.
swear there was an artist. I swear it was like King and Country or someone, and they were known for kind of like, I know they were mainstream at first, like they were super like contemporary, and it was just like,
Yeah.
But then they started pushing to stretch out,
Yeah.
and then they kind of came back.
They did like their first album was, I would say, I'm not good with genres, but it was like almost punk as a little Christian kid listening in my, in
Oh
middle
yeah, they were a little
school.
rocky.
They were
Yeah,
little
they're
rocky
Australian too,
emo.
right? Something.
Yeah,
So it was like, yeah,
yeah,
you felt really cool. Like, oh,
yeah,
listen to this
yeah.
like Australian kind
Uh,
of edgy band.
yeah, my homeschooled little sheltered self was like, oh, this is out there. Um, but I mean, even just following them, I've gotten to have very, very brief interactions with their family here and there, and they are just genuine people. Their story is incredible. I mean, and their music, every album, the way I'm a big film nerd too, so
Yeah.
all their music videos look like movies. So they've always been a band. I wouldn't say mainstream. They cross over here and there, but I adore them just as people and as a band. But yeah.
Yeah, I'm still, you know what it might have been? Yeah, it was definitely King's Kaleidoscope.
Ah,
The For King and Country, that's what threw me off. But yeah, King's
yeah.
Kaleidoscope it was a big deal. It was back in 2016. They dropped an
Okay.
album and it had an explicit song out of nowhere.
Okay.
And it
Yeah.
was like, ooh, crazy. But yeah, I always love to
Yeah.
check with specifically country artists to see like we have influences outside the genre. We're not just
Yeah.
purists who just listen. We like enjoying other stuff, but also with you
Yeah.
right now, you're trying to find your sound, and I think
Yeah.
honestly, I think you have a really bright future. Truly,
Well, thank you.
truly. Not only
Appreciate it.
because again, this is ground zero, but
Right. Yeah.
it's the fact that like it's only up from here. Well, obviously, but it's truly the point.
Hopefully.
I think you have a very distinct sound. That's not to say other people don't have a good southern twang and great vocals like you, but there's something about the way you present it
Mm,
that makes it unique, and I think it's your experience. The fact
mm,
again, mixing Texas, Alabama, Tennessee with your homeschool with classical training, all of that put together makes you you. And so
yeah.
that separates you even from people like, uh, is it Bella France?
Oh, I love
Bella.
her.
It's not
Belle
Bella, it's
France.
Bella. Yeah.
Yeah.
The fact of
I love
also,
her.
she has a southern twang. She comes from,
Hmm.
the difference is again, you have unique experiences that are going to
Hmm.
separate you from every other artist. And I want to make sure you
Exactly.
recognize that and
Mm,
appreciate that. And like you're
thank you.
doing, keep pursuing how can I mix these? Because
Mm,
that is what grows and that's what makes you a true
yeah.
artist. Not how can I conform? How can
Hmm.
I mix what I already know with what I want to make? And I think
Exactly.
I want to hear more piano. I'd love to see that. And I hope this isn't our last time working together. I'd love to have you on more.
Absolutely.
But for the listeners who want to follow you, find out what you're doing, where can they find you? Socials? Do you have any
Yeah.
shows coming up to end out the year? What do you got in the works that they can be looking forward
Yeah.
to? I know you talked about a couple of singles, but yeah, just
Yeah.
talk directly to them about where they can connect with you.
So, I mean, right now, I don't have a lot booked for the rest of the year. I've been focusing mainly on getting a single done and ready to go. And I'm hoping that I would say be on the lookout for that before the middle of January. I'm hoping best case scenario, we end in November, but then, you hit Christmas. And so if that can't be achieved, we'll definitely have something in January, and I'm really excited about it. I feel like it's obviously the first, so there's a lot of anxiety around it, but I'm really excited. I got to work with one of my really good friends about it. It leans a little into the bluegrass outlaw country, which
Come on.
is so fun for me. And then yeah, I've just been writing and pulling things together, getting ready to over the next year really dive into getting music out there. I'm a perfectionist, so it's been a long time getting mentally ready to do this, but we're doing it and I'm excited. So, yeah, for socials, Instagram, TikTok, Facebook, I try to keep as active as I can across social media. It's a crazy world. But yeah, it's Madison Rose McCoy on all of those platforms. Yeah, hopefully by the end of the year or very, very early in 2026, there'll be Spotify, Apple Music, all the places. We'll have something for you to listen to, and
Love it. Love
after
it.
that, hopefully, I'm excited to just start pulling things together and playing live shows and getting out of Nashville and back into Alabama and around. Might be a little ambitious, we'll see. But yeah, so socials for now, and very, very soon there will be other things.
Come on. Can't believe it's almost the end of the year, but looking forward to 2026. It's just going to be just as crazy, but it's a new year, new time to do stuff, and I have no doubt that it's going to be a huge year for you. So thanks for giving us some time. For everyone listening, until next time, keep honky donks country.